How did it actually come down to the final group? I mean, how did that really occur?
It was a slow process. We were introduced to George through Paul, who was only a little kid. He was like 2 years younger than we were, 3 years younger than John. So you can imagine when you're about 15 or 16 years of age, a kid of 13 is like the little kids that you don't play with normally.
Of course.
But George was very good. He could actually pick tunes out on his guitar. We went out to his house and he played raunchy for us, which impressed us enormously because none of us could pick a guitar, you see. So he gradually came into the group. He didn't come in initially because, as I say, he was a little kid. We didn't really want him around too much. But he hung around and he came in. And then they had one or two drummers, and eventually Pete Best became the drummer. Didn't fit in for one reason or another and was changed for Ringo. A great shame for Pete Best because he'd been through all the hard years. And, you know,
Sure.
as soon as they hit it, virtually hit it, he was changed for Ringo.
Now, when the group was really established, how old were, you know, the mean age of this entire group of boys?
When they were first established?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were talking about the fact you were
Yeah,
15.
that's
When
right.
you're really playing and starting to hit it in England, you were what?
Well, I wasn't. I left the group soon after I left school when I was 16, right? But they started to hit it when they were about 22, about 1962.
So there
you
was
know.
a real transition. I
Oh,
mean, they
sure.
really evolved and
Yeah,
shaped
they went
things
through
up.
I mean, most people think it was click and there's the Beatles, you know, but I mean, they went through 6 years of very hard grind and some very difficult times before they eventually made it.
Now, how did they make it over to the U.S.? I mean, that's kind of startling that a British group could start to hit the charts here in America.
It was virtually unknown, actually. I spent a night with John. We used to get together and like stay up the whole night and just chat the night away, you know. And Brian had been trying to get into the States, introduce records to Brian Epstein had been trying to introduce records to America, and they knew there was no real reaction. But John all night was saying to me, "If I can get America, Pete, it's the doorway to the world. If I can get into America, I've got the world." You know, I mean, that's how aware he was. And there weren't too many people who thought there was any possibility, least possibility, that any recording star from England could break into the States.
But of course they did that.
That's right, they did it. I actually, very strangely, I took the phone call from Ed Sullivan, which started it all off. I'd gone up to Brian Epstein's office to see him about some business. John was lending me some money. That's right, Brian Epstein. And I'd gone up there to see him about arranging some money that John was lending me to get started in business. And he was out of the office and the phone rang and it rang and it rang. And I thought, well, I may as well answer it. I picked it up and it was Ed Sullivan's office. They wanted Brian Epstein. I took the message down, put the phone down. When Brian returned to the office, we just chit-chatted, you know, and talked and did the business thing. And then I said, by the way, some fellow called Ed Sullivan, I think it is. And he went through the roof, of course, you know.
That's incredible.